guitar and music fan, and yes, that means you. Our merch store is now open at guitarmerch.com. You can find really cool guitar and music shirts in there, as well as official Everyone Loves Guitar licensed merchandise. So check it out now at guitarmerch.com. Hey everybody, welcome to Everyone Loves Guitar, and this is going to be a great episode. We got a lifetime rock and roll superstar, legit. And
wait a minute, hold on. Disclaimer, I'm out of 20s already, so there we go.
with Brian O'Neill from the Busboys. He's an awesome guy, super passionate about what he does, and he's extremely talented, so we're lucky to have him. Let me give you a Cliff Note sketch of Brian. Founder, singer, keyboardist, and primary songwriter of the LA rock band The Busboys. The band appeared in the Eddie Murphy hit movie 48 Hours, playing their hit song The Boys Are Back in Town. And it's funny, when I prepped for this and I listened to all your music, it was as fresh today when I first heard it all those years ago, man. So that big ups to you.
Thank you.
Thank you. He opened the band opened for Eddie Murphy during the Delirious comedy tour. Cleanin Up The Town was another hit for the band in the movie Ghostbusters, as well as being a Grammy nominated song. During their active touring career, high energy active touring career, I should say, the band opened for Linda Ronstadt, Stray Cats, ZZ Top, and they had TV appearances on American Bandstand, amongst others. American Bandstand, Soul Train, and Don Kirshner's rock concert. I'm going to ask you later, when Don Cornelius said, "Peace, love," and I want to just find out what that whole vibe was like, because I used to watch that show all the time. The band released 4 albums, and over the last few years, a number of singles as well, including Cities on Fire, which we're going to talk about today. That's an awesome song. Just awesome, amazing track. And their most recent single, Civil Rights, from their new album that's coming out next year called In My Heart. So stay tuned for that. Man, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you coming on the show.
Oh, thank you so much, Ray, for having me, man. I'm, honored to be here and glad to be alive, well, and doing this thing.
Right on, man.
Yes, sir.
Your parents were both teachers in LA. Were they involved in getting you and your brother Kevin started in music?
Yes, in every way that you can imagine. They weren't musicians, even though they had some musicality to them. There's some music in the family, in the history of the family. But my parents were just so positive and so supportive of me and of my brother from our earliest age. I'm 5 years my brother's senior. And, one of the questions that I think you may delve into has to do with people, who's your hero and whatnot. I have a lot of influences and people that I think are really brilliant artists and musicians, and I continue to listen to them, well, old and new. And listen, I always say that there's only 2 kinds of music: good and everything else. And I like good music. Right. And so there's no one who does anything good that I can't learn from and or be influenced or moved by. But my parents are my heroes. They're the people that I really look up to in terms of how they approach their life, how they approach their life with me, how they approach our lives with my brother. And my brother's a really brilliant, off the charts, great musician and guy also. So wasn't an accident. They they had something going on. So the building of the foundation of everything, from the story. People ask me about getting into music. As I may have told you, I think I've always been listening to music the same way. So, but when I remember, I used to go to my Uncle Bert, my godfather's house, and I would play. They had a piano, and I would play their piano when I was left there to be babysitted, and when my parents went. And then when my parents would come pick me up, I said, "Mom, come on, let me show you. I know how to play this, Ba, 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 da, da, da." She said, "Okay, that's really nice. It's good." So then a year and a half later, I told my mother, I said, "Mom, I want a piano." And I can remember this better than I can remember yesterday. And she looked at me and she says, Brian, pianos are very expensive and we'd like to get you one, but you're at such a young age, you probably want a piano now, and then in a couple of days, you'll just want a bike or a thing and something, And I said, Mom, you're right. I will want a bike, but I'll still want the piano.
So you had your sales game together at a young age.
It wasn't, but here's the thing. It wasn't sales. It's just as it is with me now. It's just I just tell it the way it is, and if that works, great. And if it doesn't, okay. And my mom, I can remember one of many times that in the course of our lifetime, my mother just looked at me after I said that and went, okay. And I subsequently got a piano, a really nice one, a Hamilton, and I played, and I've always played stuff by ear or out of my imagination, as well as they sent me to the University of Southern California, USC. They had a weekend program where I got a chance to take lessons as well as swimming lessons. So I took piano and swimming on the weekends. So
God, what a beautiful childhood.
It was. And
that's awesome.
And people say, did your parents make you practice? And I know different artists have had different motivations throughout the course of their life. There were things that they've had that were traumatically, possibly challenging. I don't want to say negative, but nobody ever made me do anything. I asked for the piano. They got me the piano. I kept playing it. I took some lessons, and the lessons were good. But I wasn't doing it for the taking the lesson. I wasn't doing it so I want to be in competitions, or they didn't want me to be anything or do anything. And, and I think now as a multi-instrumentalist, I remember my first instrument, I think before I got the piano, I got some blue metal flake bongos that I played until they broke, and I wish I had them today. Yeah. So at any rate, my parents were very influential for both myself and for my brother in both setting the stage for and being supportive of my and then his interest in music.
That's the number one characteristic that successful musicians have in common. I would say 98% of my guests, 850 guests, parents were supportive of their passion for music. Very interesting. All right. So how did you first get started in the music business, and what would you say your first break was?
And I'm such a guy. Many of the questions and answers that you'll give me, I'm not trying to be vague. Some people say, like, are you trying to be political? I don't give two craps about this. That's not it. I'm just telling you the way it is.
Yeah. Tell me the way it is. Thank you.
Thank you. I decided I've been playing music, as I said, all my life, but not for a profession, not for what I do one day. And I always did well in school and all that. And I remember I was student body president in elementary school, junior high school, and in high school. And so I sort of thought maybe
wait a minute. Say that again. You were student body president in elementary, junior high, and high school?
Yes.
Wow.
I had other offices as well in there, which the very first thing I would tell anybody, if you want to be in politics, always go run for chief justice or something along that first. The one that tells you all the rules so that you know everything. Be that first, then go to higher office. So anyway, yes, I was. So I thought, when my senior year in high school, I thought when we were doing career planning and things, they said, well, what do you want to do? And I said, I don't know. I didn't want to be a doctor or a lawyer. My parents have been teachers. I didn't want to be a teacher. And I don't know. I said, I sort of dig politics a bit. It's okay. And I really love music. But I thought with politics, it's almost like you have to be called for that. It's a special thing. It's like half the people are going to hate you and hate everything you represent and do. I don't care what you do. You walk on water and bring the water to people in the desert, and you say, well, he's that.
Yeah, man. Half the people, that's a very accurate. I would agree with that. You can't. Yeah.
And it's just the nature of people in life and politics.
Totally.
Right. And then I said, with music, the great thing about music was not only did I love it and was loving it more as I moved forward, but it was, you can't take away the essential elements of what things make it work and what you accomplish. So when I learned how to play something, when I write a song, the talents and the things that I have aspired towards and still do, those are immutable. Basically, they're yours. They can't be taken away. You might not sell enough records, or you may be, whatever happens economically or in your life and your wife, all these things, right? But the talent that you acquire and the things that you accomplish with that talent, those things become an imprint, a soul print on the universe. And they can't be taken from you. They aren't negotiable. And they don't matter whether people like them or they don't. They are what they are. And I said, I'm going there. And I did.
So follow-up questions to that too, in particular. Student body president, elementary, junior high, high school, you're obviously a super charismatic human being. Where did that come from? Because that's a really great quality to have, and to have it at such a young age and so consistently. That's unusual.
Now that one I don't know. I tell sometimes when I'm giving master classes and I'm talking to younger people or anybody says, the number one thing I want to advise you is to choose your parents carefully.
Very true, man. Yeah.
So I did well there.
Yeah. And, okay. That was great. The second question is, you being so in touch, like with these, you said it was really important to you that these were the musical traits and the talents and the passions that you had were yours and you own them. That's a pretty spiritual depth, ultimately. Where did that come from?
Again, I can't account for what so many of the things that I consider blessings.
Yeah.
And I say them blessings not so much in a religious context, spiritual context, in that I didn't have as much to do with them. I have to do with supporting them. Okay. Recognizing them, with bringing the best of myself to the table on a daily basis. And that's a challenge in of itself for any of us, no matter what we do.
Sure.
Another reason that I credit my parents, and I feel heroic. I think about my parents now when I wake up. Sometimes I'm in bed now. At the same time, I was just getting in the shower to go to the club. So
that's a natural.
Yeah. So, but the thing is, when I was younger, I can remember getting up in the morning sometimes with my parents, like, it would be 4:30. And my mom would have some coffee going and some toast. And they were teachers, and people think, I don't know what they think about teachers. Teachers have a lot of work to do, a lot of pre-production. There's papers to grade, stuff to go over. There's lesson plans that have to be designed for you to be able to present to those 25, 30 plus kids that you have. And some of the stuff has been dictated by the school district and or the principal. So you have formats and things that you have to do. So you have to a lot of times you have to wake up early in the morning. And I remember I would help grade papers. And we had our dining room table had a fluorescent light on it that's overhanging. Everybody would be working. And my mom might iron a shirt for me to wear in the morning or something, but just the one and the thing. And so when I get up in the mornings now and I get some coffee going to things, like rather than just lay around and look at television, go like, what was it you're working on? You got a session coming up on the 6th and the 7th. And it may not be just Mark playing, the guitar player, our guitar player, Mark Palmer, great guy. But you may have to do some work.
Yeah.
Or you may get to do some work. There may be time. He may do all of his stuff on Saturday. You may have stuff on Sunday. You've got all this stuff set up in a perfect. Why don't you start preparing for that?
Right.
Like let's move that forward. And that goes with moving. Now that I have my own label and my own production thing and all that stuff. Careful what you wish for, people. Careful. So there's money to be moved around. There's executive pre-production on every level in order for you to have quality work done. I don't care if it's a video thing. So I'm trying to bring the best of myself with great energy and positivity to every day.
Right.
And again, I learned this both by nature and nurture. So I'm calling back on things that happened, when we used to get up and do those morning things. I'm talking about my parents. I had only been 10. I was still in elementary school. So 9, 10, 11. And I still relate to that. And my work ethic and my appreciation of process. Yeah.
Yeah. I think you could tell so much about somebody by their work ethic, man. I mean, it's just, for me anyway, that's such an insight into who someone is. There's so much more light coming from somebody with a good work ethic, man. Lazy people, I just don't have any room for, and probably too much so, but I love guys with good work ethics. So
no, you would have to have said same for you to be able to play as well as you do since 2015 and have the show and to do the things like many people. And sometimes I think of myself now, it's like I'm like a bumper sticker guy. Like I got a bumper sticker for that. But there's a lot of the essentials of life after you are grown really relate to the things that, you talked about, a guy I talked to, a guy, we'll talk about that later, but man, you got to have some optimism and appreciation, some thankfulness for what you've already received. And I don't want to spoiler alert for all of my fellow Americans who may not agree with me. And I understand why, but this is, if you're any kind of student of history, this is one of the golden times ever in the existence of humanity here in this country, which is not even 400 years old. With everything all considered, I understand we have issues. I understand. All that considered, it's incredible.
Yeah. Opportunities everywhere, man.
Yes, and the basic construct of the country, not just what its history is, but what it's the ideal and the concept of it. Okay, so we're not doing all that yet, but here's what we're aiming for. Never before, ever. I'm a big patriot, not a patriot from a standpoint of, I just think everything's so golden and whatever. No. I'm a patriot from what the ideal set and the goal and the concept of the country is. And then my having participated in its history, and I come from a family that is politically active and socially active, but active from the inside out.
Yeah.
And it's not about how many people you don't agree with and how much you hate and what. It's about how much thankfulness and positivity you have to bring to the table. And what are you going to do?
Dude, when are you running? Let me be your campaign manager. We'll gather up some votes. I'm sold.
Well, I think we may have passed that off ramp on the freeway already.
What was you guys' first break musically?
Now, see, again, not trying to be anything other than honest. I think my first break was my mom getting me the piano. Okay. Then if you go professionally,
right. Busboys.
Before there was the Busboys, there was a group called Brian, Brian, and Thangs. I used to have to spell it.
Brian and Thangs.
Thangs.
That was the time. That was the time.
And I started the band my senior year in high school in 1974. And we became a popular...
Wait a minute. Man, you do look great.
Yeah?
Yeah, man.
Oh.
Yeah, you're on it, man. 74, you're 7 years older than me. You look like 7 years younger than me, maybe 15 years younger than me.
I don't know.
It's a diet.
Good genes and old number 7. Anyway. So when the band got going in 74, the way that it got going, I played with another group for a few minutes, and I said, "Oh, you probably need to lead your own," you know. And so I started doing that. My mother and father bought me the instruments that I wanted at the time. A Fender Rhodes wow. 88. I remember, yeah. And I remember I got a Shure PA, and this Shure PA had 2 giant speakers. I'm 6'3", so they must have been 6 feet. And you got a little motherboard to work it. So that PA system and the Fender Rhodes, and then they got me a Hohner clavinet.
Wow, that's really cool.
That I wanted. I was into that. So that way and they let me rehearse in the garage. All right. So the garage had been this place. My parents, as we have said, were teachers. And anybody knows anything about teachers, they're storage people.
Yeah.
They got boxes and boxes of year after year of magazines and lesson plans and blah, blah, blah. And once I decided I was going to have a band, I cleaned the entire garage out and organized all my folk stuff. And my mom said, "Throw this away. We're not going to, they had stuff in there that was 10 years old." So,
sure.
Right.
Yeah.
And I remember we had just gotten the carpet changed in the living room. I said, "Give me the old carpet." I put that in the garage.
Soundproof.
Well, no. My neighbors would say no. But it was nice to have the carpet on the floor instead of the garage floor, right?
Sure. Yeah.
And I set my Fender Rhodes up in my PA system, and I started a band. And I started recruiting guys in that I knew in high school, from my school, and then from the area. I was looking for the best of talent that I could to fulfill this band. And that's the break. Now, as far as your record deal, people want to know, well, wait a minute, how did you get famous or whatever? See, I'm a plan your work your plan guy.
Right.
My largest influences during the time period, and the people that I dug the most, not just in terms of music, but where they were in the pop part of it, were Sly Stone and Stevie Wonder. And then there was the Hendrix piece of it and the Led Zeppelin piece of it. So, but Clive Davis had been the credited architect for having signed Sly Stone. I was really into Sly. And I looked at what he'd done and some of the other stuff he'd done and blah, blah, blah. And he was at Columbia. And then I said, okay, so that's my guy.
So you set your sights on Clive back then?
Years before I'd met him, before I had a deal, before I had anything. think I've discussed with Clive. Plus, it's like, yeah, I know you guys signed me, but I chose you.
Yeah. So that was like, so you really are a goal-oriented guy, because so you said early on, hey, this guy is the person who's grooming and bringing these acts to the market. These are my heroes. I want to work with this guy.
That was my thought process.
Okay.
Now, I'm never fixed.
I'm just amazed how you had your shit together at such a young age like that. That's not common at all, as you know. I mean, you've raised kids. I'm not saying your kids are not like you, but I mean, that's not normal. That's, I mean, and I mean that in a good way. That's amazing.
It is true.
Yeah.
And you don't think of it as I don't think of this morning or this day or the fact I'm having this interview with you or whatever. I don't think of them. I think of them in extraordinary terms overall, but not in the moment, like, because it's not a light switch world. It's like, okay, so we need light. So
that's really cool what you just said, because people don't get that you didn't just like summon this surge of energy and then Clive Davis appears and you get signed. It's like little movements every day, again and again and again and again. And that's how you get shit done. Yeah. I'm totally with you on that, man. Yeah.
It is. I mean, the actual making of the music and the playing of instruments is that way also. I mean, I'm still working. I'm working every day, and I will be, I'm sure, until I've left the planet, and who knows what happens after that. But I'm still trying to improve my craft and do things better. And that all comes from, a day by day process.
Yeah.
So my parents gave me the break. What happened after that? I was playing, the Brian and Things became a popular band in the LA area. And for doing dances and stuff. In fact, a girl called me today that I haven't spoken with since elementary school. And I said, how'd you get my phone number? And he says, I won't even say how she got it. Anyway, I was surprised. So I talked with her, and she says, and didn't you play at our prom or our thing? I said, yeah, the Brian and Things did play for the Compton High School prom after dance for the prom. I said, yes, we did. But we played around, the band got popular, and then again, parents helpful, mom especially. She was a teacher, but she was an activist. And I remember that she set up a dinner with a musician who was a teacher for my brother. And Leroy, his name will come back to me in just a second. Anyway, we had that dinner, I remember, and he says to me, love it, Leroy, love it. Yes, brilliant saxophone player, great teacher, also an educator. He says, I can't really help you with what you're doing. You're doing some kind of new music, some kind of thing. He said, well, I know this guy that might be able to help you. And he put me together with the person who will become the manager and sort of the architect for some of what the business structure and all things of Mr. Roger Perry, who's our manager. He put me together with Roger Perry. And I remember we did a showcase. And I had started rehearsing at a place called Cole Rehearsals on Cole Street in Hollywood. And I started going there because Stevie Wonder rehearsed there. And so I said, okay, well, if he rehearses there, what is in an hour? I can do that. And so we would drive up and we rehearsed there. And so I got to know him a little bit and hang out. Stevie Wonder, Mr. Wonder. And I remember we were going to have this showcase. I want to showcase Brian and Things. And at a showcase, it's just you invite people, record companies, press people, whatever, blah, 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 to come see you play. And I said, I had Stevie Wonder's, I had a phone number for him. And I called him. I said, Steve, would you mind coming to our showcase? Because then we can tell people that Stevie Wonder will attend, and that'll make it better for me. And he says, no, not doing it. I said, well, we'll be there a little bit before you were already going to be at rehearsal. And he says, no, not going to do it. Sorry, can't help you. And I remember that Bruce Springsteen had just recently got on stage with a group called The Knack. They did My Sharona.
Yeah, I remember them. Sure, of course.
Yeah. But Bruce Springsteen had hopped on stage with them, and it was in Rolling Stone that they were on. And then soon after that, they got this big record deal. And then, so I called Stevie back and I said, can you make it? No. I said to him, it's too bad that some people know how to support their people, but some of us haven't learned that yet.
You said that, man. You got big balls. Right on. So what did he say when you? That's hilarious, man. What did he say?
There was a long moment of silence.
The pregnant pause, huh? Wow.
I mean, there was a long silence. Then he said, "What time?"
Oh. Wow.
And Stevie came, thankfully, and I thank him to this day for that. He came to that showcase, as did the managers, how we got on the subject, Roger Perry, brilliant man. And Roger's a genius level manager, especially for breaking bands. I mean, there's bands like any other thing go through different phases. But Roger Perry was just like, I haven't met anyone who was on his level for breaking band. And I've watched him do it several times. I remember I made some friends that I brought to him at the time in a band called Fishbone.
Yeah, of course.
Fishbone. He managed Fishbone and broke them, got them their first record deal. Then he also worked with 24/7 Spies, got them a deal.
Yeah, I know those guys.
But he was really a brilliant guy. We got to be buddies, and that finding him as a manager. Now then, remember, I've already decided sort of where I want to be. Once you start things in motion in the universe, man, if you give them energy and you stick with them,
and if you're in the right place, which you
yes, and if you're not, go get in the right place.
Yeah, man, right.
If you can, and if not, get the place to come to you.
Yeah. And
we started doing shows. We couldn't get arrested.
Yeah.
I mean, here we are, a black band playing this new wave rock music, right? And we had a very vibrant scene here in Los Angeles during that time, which is great. I mean, I love some of the bands and the Cats and the Naughty Sweeties and other people I'll think of in a minute. But anyway, no one would let us play. There was a club here called Madame Wong's.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
Anybody can do a thing. And it was a Chinese food restaurant that had turned their stage into a new wave rock showcase place. And who would have thunk, but it happened. And I got to know, I remember I'm there, I'm politicking, and I would go to shows and meet bands and meet people. And I met the owners, George and Esther Wong. Esther Wong ran the place. George was just sweet and wonderful and supported Esther. And I got to know Esther after a while. One day one evening, I said, Esther, we have a band. I got a band called the Busboys, and we play and blah, blah, blah. And she said, to me, no black bands. And
she looked dead serious, like you just looking.
Yes, yeah, no black bands. I buy you drink. And I said, but Esther, we don't. No. Here, I buy you drink. Here, you have drink. So she would not let us play. But the Naughty Sweeties, who were a headliner at that time, had in their contract that they could choose their opening act, which they rarely did. Who cared? It's like, right. But when I found that out, I told my manager called their manager. And then I went and asked Ian, the leader of the band. I said, hey, man, take a listen to what we're doing. I gave him a cassette. I really appreciate you giving me a shot and let us open for you. And he did.
That is so cool, man.
We opened at Wong's for
And
them.
Esther didn't know you were the opening act, I'm assuming.
No idea. She's still on No Black Bands. She has no idea.
But was it like was it a racial thing? Like, no, it didn't sound like it was. What was the deal with it?
She thought about it almost like saying no R&B.
Yeah. Okay.
We're doing, I do rock bands here. No.
Okay. Yeah.
That's what she was thinking. And me trying to explain to her, and she doesn't know the difference between any of the music anyway. She does. What does she know?
Get it. Yeah. Totally get it.
And did I say A&R people? No, I didn't. So we got on stage and we played, we did our thing, and it went really well.
Yeah.
And people were really great. Who was that? Oh God. So then she, again, I buy you another drink. And she invited us to come play back, and we became a headliner there.
Oh, that's so cool.
And it really got to be very exciting. And our time in Los Angeles, after going from not being able to be arrested, no black bands, and just hard to get a date, to, I remember one time we came to play the Whiskey, and I saw people lined up all the way up, like, if you know where the Sunset is. Sunset's on it's a hilly area, but if you the street that goes up the side, people are lined all the way back, like 100 people deep at sound check time, 5:30. Yeah, and I remember I walked up to the thing, and I was just getting in for sound check, and I asked one of the guys who was standing in line. I said, "What happened? Was there a fire?" Like, sometimes you have a fire or something happens and they shut you down until they can let people in or something like that. I said, why are all these people here? The guy, I remember returning, he looked at me, he says, "We're here to see you."
That's so
and
cool.
It went from that to that. And it happened really quickly. It all happened in 1 year. It went from we no black bands.
That's hilarious, man.
To in the summer, by the summer of that year, we had the largest record deal that had ever been for a previously unsigned black band, you know.
And was that with Clive?
Records. Yes, it was. Clive and Larkin Arnold, he was the West Coast, and Buddy Scott was the A&R guy. Yeah, here at Arista.
How did you get their attention?
Well, my manager was great.
Okay.
You know,
so Roger
he knew how to. Yeah, right. Well, it's and it ain't just a hookup like people think now. Like, hey, let me fly your helicopter. No.
Yeah.
It's like you build things around the people. Like, if anybody ever reads any of the success books and things, they're like, don't go ask the president of the company for the thing. Find out who the president's secretary is, and then where her daughters go to school and what they like. And then you work your way up to where you're going. Because when you're trying to create desire, it seems like the object of the game is to get people to want you, not for you to go bang on their door.
Scarcity, positioning is all that stuff is so important. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just how you grow yourself into the position. So first thing is have people like you. So if crowds are showing up, there you got it. So then the A&R guy for Arista, who, yes, works for Clive, but he's not talking to Clive every day. It's like he's got his own. Clive's on the East Coast and he's here on the West Coast. And his name was Buddy Scoppin. He came and saw us at a gig at the Blue Lagoon Saloon and just said, "I love you guys. You know, what are you doing? How do you do it? What can I know?" And we put him together with our manager, and we cultivated that, and more press, more time. And then Buddy brought people to come see us. They were from the label and different things. And so it just built its way up. But we already had our own momentum.
Right.
It wasn't his momentum. It wasn't a record company idea. We were and still are our own entity.
You were happening and they caught wind of it.
I always look at it, man. If you're an artist, man, you and a commercial artist, whatever, you're making deals with people, whether it's a deal to do a gig or a deal for them to support your records or whatever. But it should be your thing and your talent and your business making a deal with their business.
Correct.
And it's not a marriage. It's not until death do us part thing.
Did you know that going in?
Yeah, always.
How did you know that?
When
Roger
I'm
or
not, nope. I don't know how I knew. I'm not sure.
Because that's also a mature honestly, attitude. That's, you know.
When we did our deal with Arista, the band, including me, was signed to my production company, Busboys Incorporated. And Busboys Incorporated made a deal with Arista.
Okay.
So I was never signed directly to Arista.
Gotcha.
Neither were the band members either. That has allowed me later in life to have more access to both my material and previous work. And my work that I do, I copyright. I own that. You didn't write it. I don't care. You could pay for it. I could owe you money for it, but you didn't write it. If you didn't write it, you didn't write it. You don't own that. I did.
And you knew that early on.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
How?
I'm not exactly sure because my parents were not business people.
Right.
They were teachers and didn't do a lot of business ventures, but I don't know. I just learned. I'm not sure.
Because that's because that's like I've had really well-known people here, and they did the same. You know, they had their version of how the Busboys got signed, and it was not a good deal. I mean, like Mark Farner from Grand Funk Railroad is an example I can think of. It was just abusive, the deals some of these guys got. I mean, like like predatory. You know, like
absolutely.
You know, these guys were bloody bait, and the record company were sharks, and it was like it was terrible, man. So it's really amazing that you
it was very fortunate.
Yeah.
On one hand. On the other hand, I can credit again my parents. I've never felt as if it was a mother may I positioning. You don't discover me. I discover and develop me. Now, if there's something for us to do business together, great.
That's wonderful, man. That's really.
And when it's over, again, it's not marriage, it's not your children.
Yeah.
It's not even your sports team. It's when it's time for it to be over and people move on. It doesn't have to be oh, screw you, screw me, who did wrong. Things grow, things change. You need to be able to move on, and you have to prepare for that.
God, that's amazing that you had that foresight at that young of an age. I mean, really, it's. I mean, I sound like a broken record. Maybe I'm just really stupid at a young age. I don't know, but that's tremendous to have that whole packaging.
It was a fortuitous, and I have to again count it to a certain amount of blessings, because it wasn't just, yes, I did study. I read books and I listened and I hung out with people in the business. I remember when I used to take a bus. I had wrecked the car hauling the band around so much, so I didn't have a car anymore. My parents were getting me another one. But I used to catch a bus from where I was in what is now Carson. I would take the bus. I catch a bus sometime at 11 o'clock in the morning, and I would ride into a studio, Wally Hyder's studio that used to be at Selma in Hollywood. And I knew that studio, and they knew me because I had been hired to do a clavinet session there for a guy that had heard about this kid that can play clavinet. I went and played, and I remember I think I made $200 from the session, which was a ton of dough. Great, but then I met all the engineers and the people and stuff. I used to go 2 or 3 times a week. I would carry my bass, and I would sit in the lobby and I just practice. And I told the ladies there, listen, I'll go get you guys lunches. Whenever you need lunch, whatever, you just tell me what it is you want, and I'll go. And I walk down the streets and go get them and bring them their lunches and stuff. And I said, well, why are you here? And I said, well, there's an engineer or a couple of engineers I met, and I'm hoping to get some spec time. And after me doing that for about a month, I think the ladies in the office just went to the engineers. Listen, somebody please give this kid some time so we can stop.
No, but that is so, but no, man, it's how smart is that? Because you didn't go there and say, here's who I am and you need me. You said, I'm willing to go pay some dues and like to get something out of it. If it works, cool. If it doesn't, cool. That is
always my approach.
Right, man. That's very smooth. And I don't mean that. I mean that in a great way. It's a win-win, man.
Yes. If they don't, and when you do stuff, when you present things to people in that way, if they like you, great. If they don't like you, it's okay.
Right. Totally cool. Move on.
Yeah.
But I like the mindset you had, especially with, I wasn't there to hope you would, I wasn't looking for a date to the prom. I'm here. If we go together, that might work. That is, I love that mindset to have that, because that's how everything gets, in the real world, that's how things get done, and you maintain your independence.
And respect both your and the other person's integrity.
Absolutely.
Nobody wants to be impugn, like, hey, like me. God damn it, I said like me.
Yes, right. No, I mean, you're 100% right. Right.
Yeah.
Totally, man. Once you guys got signed, was there any pushback at all from the label because you guys were an African-American rock band at all? Or was there any, like, you can't make this music or anything like that?
Again, because that's how I came to them. That was what made us special to begin with.
Right.
We were already being written about in the LA Times and the New York Times and Wall Street Journal. And again, this is what I do, and this is what our business is. So no, there wasn't pushback. I think after the first record didn't do as well as maybe some would have hoped, at the label in particular, I think that the want to have you have a hit, which was a paradigm that has decidedly changed now. I think where we were is where we always will need to be, which is we're a great act. We make different and original music, and we're great live at. So what you really need to do is have people come see you and pay to be into that, and things where that's how you're going to make your economics off of it. The days of, there was a little period of time, I think, in the music business, as I understand it, and it may come back again, all things are cyclical, but somewhere between 77 and 1997, almost 2000, where you could just make enough money off the records, the pure record sales.
Right. Yeah.
Where so the volume of money from that created a really nice cocoon of its own success. That's not what's happening now, as most people know. And I was never really driven by trying to have a hit record, and I'm still not. I like to do the best music I possibly can and do great work that I can be proud of and that people will like. And I want to sell as much of that as I can sell.
Sure. But
the idea that it's going to be necessarily on the hit parade and all that, there's nothing that's wrong with that, or that I'm not anti-hit.
Sure.
But that's just not what I approach the music or the songwriting or the choices as. I remember sometimes somebody
control over that.
Well, and to whatever degree you do, listen, you either write stuff you love and believe in, or worst case scenario for me, you out of here? Okay, thanks a lot, honey. I'll see you later.
So I said thank you.
Yeah. Craig says thank you very much.
You're welcome.
He says you're welcome. I remember people would sometimes bring me songs, and they don't do as much anymore, but they bring me a song saying, this is really great. This is going to be a hit song. And I listen to it and it's like, I don't know, booba dabba, whatever it is. Yeah. And I listen to it, I go like, yeah, maybe it will be for somebody, but that's not a good song for me. He says, but it will be a hit. But what I say to them, I said, now then that makes it worse. So what you're telling me is this song that I really don't like at all. if I do it, it'll be a hit, and then I'll be known for that, and people want to hear me do it for the rest of my life.
Right?
Isn't that a little bit of hell?
Yeah, man. Yeah.
You know, so
totally.
No, you need to do stuff that you feel strongly about and that you can represent.
Yeah.
And you know, and the best things that we've done or that have been the most successful in terms of sales or acceptance. I wasn't trying to do them because they'd be a hit. You know, it just worked. I mean,
it just worked.
I remember when we did Boys. People asked me about Boys Back in Town. We were doing our second album, American Worker. We'd already done the album, and we were touring and playing clubs. We were home. We were home for a while, doing local dates. And I remember that my agent had called me and asked me one morning, said, I got this call, do you guys want to be in a movie? And I remember telling him, he says, if you'd have seen me last night, you know, I am a movie. He's like, no, he says, I'm serious. It's going to be Nick Nolte and Eddie Murray.
Eddie Murray, is that what he said?
Yeah. And I'm waking up hazy from the party from the night before. And I go like, do you mean Eddie Murphy? Murphy, do you want to be in the movie? I said, okay, great. So we went and I met with Joel Silver, and he had heard the song New Shoes, which was on an album already. He says, I need 4 more songs like that. And we're going to have you in this bar scene and blah, blah, blah. And I walked around with him, looked at the set and things. He said, here's a time frame. He says, can you do it now? I said, yeah, I think we can do what you need. We can make this happen. And I think we had about 3-4 weeks before time to present the demos for the songs that he wanted to have us do. And we had done 3 of the songs. And I remember we were in the studio, the demo studio, and it was late at night. It was like about 1:30 in the morning. It was pizza boxes had nothing but rinds in them. And the guys were tired. We've played, we've done, we've sung. But I had to go to a meeting like in about a week. And I needed another song. I said, we got to do one more song. I said, yeah. I said, yeah. So it's going to be, I said, it's real simple. Key of C. We'll just go bump it up, dump it up, dump it up, bump it up, bump it up, bump it up, bump it up. And I said, yeah. And I said,
basic blues.
Yeah, I'll open it with a gospel lick, a gospel piano lick. And I remember, and this opus is called, and I'm thinking, I go like, the boys, because we had just come off the road, are back in the town.
So like your higher power was spoon feeding you those words one at a time or something.
I was just trying to get out of the studio at 1:45 in the morning and have the guys not mutiny and do the thing. So we did the track. So I got the track, and then I wrote some lyrics to it, and I came back and sang the lyrics later. And I remember when we played the songs for my A&R guy, the same guy that helped us get signed. And we had these other songs, and the last song was Boys Are Back in Town, because that's just to fulfill the contract, you know? It's like, yeah. And I remember him listening to it going like, that song has some potentials. And me thinking on the other side of this, freaking A&R guys, what do they fucking know? That's a throwaway song, you idiot. Right?
That's so funny.
So after we got going and we did the song, and after it was in the movie, which was its own little thing, I thought we were going to get fired. We recorded the thing at a place that I used to. It was the first club I ever played at called the Sold Out, but they changed their name to Oh, Lingerie Club. And I had played there when it was a pimp and hoe place where black guys with big naturals and women with bigger naturals and short
That's
skirts.
Hilarious. Oh my God.
I knew the owners there. They were mobbed out a little bit, but they liked me. I had been playing there since the early 70s. And so this is like early 70s, since 78, 79. And we were playing, we're doing this in like 81 that we were filming there. I think the summer of 81 or something, or maybe it was summer 82. I don't know. Anyway, we go there to play. And they had intended on just having the band be this short little thing. They were going to go like, shh, band, shh, off, right? They didn't have any kind of accommodations for us. We didn't have any makeup. We didn't blah, blah, blah. But again, I'm running my own freaking company, right? I knew that place in and out. I know where you could get high and nobody could find you. I knew a lot of things. I had commandeered a whole room that was bigger than all the trailers they had in the back for Eddie and those guys. I had our own room. I'd have people come clean it up, set it up, brought my own makeup people, did our own thing. And we performed for the first hour and a half, and then they shut it down. I thought, frick. I said, we're probably going to get replaced, right? And they called me over to the bar to sit down and thing. I said, well, at least they got to pay me for the X amount. I come sit down. They call my manager. They said, we didn't realize how good you guys were. We had no idea we apologize for not having accommodations for you. We're going to shut this down, and we're going to return day after tomorrow, and we're going to just feature you. And that's what happened.
Awesome, man. That had to feel good.
Yeah. Well, it did. I thought we went from getting fired to, I'll take another shot of that, and I guess I'll go have lunch somewhere.
It's funny how you wrote the song as a cleanup song.
It was.
Yeah, that's great. Great story.
Yeah.
I want to ask you about a few of my favorite Busboys songs.
Yes.
KKK.
Yeah.
That's it's basically a punk rock song. It's boom, 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 eighth notes. Less than 2 minutes long. Very funny, but very sincere lyrics about how if you're good enough to go to war, you're good enough to pledge to the flag. Why can't you join the Ku Klux Klan? Hilarious, man. But what prompted you to write that track?
Oh, I wish I could tell you that. I didn't write it. My brother, Kevin O'Neill, did.
Oh, okay.
That's a Kevin track. And much of what we were doing on the first album had to do with the acknowledgement that we were a Black band playing this rock music and all the inherent issues that go with that. And I won't get too deep or philosophical, but there's the country has a long history of racism, race relations, of minorities, Black people in particular, not being able to not only participate equally, but hell, we were 3/5 of a citizen for years. We were slaves. So, and everybody thinks, oh, well, don't bring up that stuff. It's so long ago. And now this is not some kind of revisionist history. This is just the way it was. The way it, like you can call it what you want. It is what it is. We've always had an optimistic approach to all things. That was then. This is now. So we're acknowledging that. Where are we going?
Yeah.
And the whole thing with There Goes the Neighborhood, KKK.
Yeah.
Did you see me? Shoe Shine Boy. This was kind of like a little bit of a it was an ironic dig.
It was like an FU. And I thought, and the way you did it,
but in a positive way. Now,
yes,
it wasn't. If you can point out the irony and or the humor in something for people, it's often an excellent way to make your point.
To open a door. Yeah, right. Well, you know what's interesting? you're right. And that's how you kind of approached everything. Not that making irony, but you were very, man, this whole thing is tying together now. The way you created opportunities for yourself was very similar to that. It wasn't like, what is a bull in a china shop. It was very cultivated and positive and polished. That takes a lot of work and a lot of brain power to do all that shit.
It's what I live to do.
Yeah, man. And you did it great. I mean, like you mentioned, There Goes a Neighbor. That was another one I was going to talk about. Because that's hilarious. Because as a white guy, I can tell you right now, those are the conversations I heard growing up when the neighborhood was changing. When black, and it was hilarious. Like, you know, you're oh no, the whites are moving in 1, 2 at a time now. You know, it was hilarious. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, yeah, that's what I used to hear. It was great. What did you get any hassles for that, for coming up with those lyrics?
When you say hassles, see, here's the thing. First of all, again, we're very popular.
Right.
And we're not just popular because we're cute and we jump around. It's because we're writing these songs. Okay.
So this was part of the allure, that you had this edge and you were positive about it.
It is the reason. It's the part and parcel of the entire thing. So, you know, it's like I don't know, you don't buy a swimming pool and say, well, how come it's got all this wet stuff in it? You know?
Yeah, right.
So
this was the part of the chemistry, the allure.
Yes, it didn't sneak up on anybody.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a thing like, okay, and it wasn't created in a lab. It was created by us, for us.
Right.
And people were digging it. So this is, if you want to be in business with us, this is what we're doing. This is who we are.
Yeah, this is our content.
Now, there are pushback moments across all things in life. And it's a different era now with the whole Twitter of it all. And everybody has a larger platform for their opinion. And you can feel people's opinions more quickly. I still don't care. It's like, okay, good. Very good for you. But I can remember when we opened for ZZ Top at Reunion Stadium, which I don't believe is there any longer. And it was sold out.
Where's Reunion?
That was in Dallas, Texas.
Okay. Wow.
On New Year's Eve, so it was the end of 80 going into 81, I believe. And Billy and the band, I think they really liked the Busboys, and they invited us to open for them, which was great. So, but I can remember when I was on stage and we were playing, we were doing KKK and Doctor and There Goes the Neighborhood. I was like, we had this part in our show where we lean back together in the middle of all the guys lean back into this thing. And I was thinking, like, I may die up here.
If anybody wants to shoot, now is going to be.
Well, I just thought, I said, they killed JFK here. They could take my ass out in a heartbeat. So, but as it turns out, it went well. Yes, they did ball up ice and put in napkins and throw some of that for a while. But by the end of the show, we'd won half the audience over. And I meet people all the time from the Texas area that remember that show and say, like, you guys had the balls to come out there and do it and say what you had to say. And we really enjoyed it. I've been a fan ever since. So you got to be a person of your own conviction. And if that's what it is you believe and you do, then you go out there and you do it.
Tell me about Cities on Fire. Again, I'm not blowing smoke. Oh, what a song, man. This was like, took me back like 40 or 50 years. I mean, this was great, psychedelic. It was real trippy. Everything, the guitar was awesome. The drums, what a groove. I mean, vocals, lyrics. The song's about the Watts Riots in 65, but it wasn't released till 2012. Was that something Was this track or this idea something that had been brewing in your head for a long time, or what prompted that?
No, it wasn't. But I remember the Watts riots and then the LA riots subsequently many years later. Well, and the Watts riots I remember even more vividly because I was just a kid. I think I was like eight or 9 years old.
The film that, you know, the clips that you had in the video for that song are so like infamous. They're so, and I mean, those are things, any kind of retrospective of American history, you see that film clip.
Well, I was there for it. See, my parents, you know, I feel like a walking piece of history, which I guess I am.
You are, man.
Not so much just from what I've done, but I was there. And when you get older, and there's a lot of things you were there for that a lot of other people were not, because they're not that old. My parents taught in the Watts neighborhood. You see, my dad taught at Grape Street Elementary. And in fact, they had a whole history before I was born of having lived in that area. And I remember that, so I was no stranger to 103rd Street and all that, but it wasn't this dilapidated, rundown piece of business. It was a very racially concentrated area, which was the history of many of our urban cities here throughout the country. But I knew the fire station, the Watts Library. I knew the bank that was down on Compton Boulevard at 103rd, Hacienda Village, where my parents had lived before I was born. It was because that was part of the GI Bill spot. So I knew the area. And then we moved further down Central, because that's like 103rd and Central. We moved further south from when I was born, and then even a little bit further south by the time the riots happened. But I remember that when the riots started, I was riding my bicycle. And I remember that a friend of mine said, hey, you know, there's some stuff going on. And everybody in my neighborhood, the parents were all excited. And then the men were meeting together, and they were going to figure out how to defend their houses. And it was a very scary moment, because it was one of the only times that I experienced anarchy. And anarchy is a very scary place.
Yeah, I would imagine.
You know, and so we went home, and I went home. I rode my bike home, and I parked inside. You know, we locked the doors and we did the stuff. But I'm looking on TV, and I'm watching places that I recognize well: hamburger stands, beauty shops, various places getting bombed and burning down. And I've said before, I said, I realized even at that age, you know, if all of that moves all the way down to where we are, listen, the doors and the windows and whatever the neighbors are doing, that's not going to stop. That's not going to protect us. And part of the injustices that have happened in our country, that continue to, and the fear that brings them about, the political power structure, the history, all of that still exists and existed then. And there's always going to be a rebellion to that at some level, you see. And I wrote that song and sing that song in recognition of that. You know, it's not, I am not a person who's burned down the place type person. That's not my answer to things. I understand, though, that when you create, for whatever reasons, a sustained oppression of the natural parts of people, especially in America, because America, all you got to do is pick up the Constitution or the Bill of Rights and go like, hey, excuse me, that's not right, right?
Yeah, it's pretty cut and dried.
Yes. So you're going to have problems. And this was about that. That's what the song is about.
It's honestly, it's like one of the top 50 songs. It's a great song. It's just phenomenal. The whole, it's like, you know, not that there's not good music after 1969, but it's like sitting in 1969 again, man. It's perfect. You know, was that you doing the voice of, like, when you said, Daddy, why are they burning something down? And then it was like your dad's voice. Was that you doing that voice?
Yeah, I did them. I did them all.
Yeah, it was really good. Yeah. And it was, it was everything about that. Even the way you did those voices was so, you know, you didn't just say, okay, you thought about how to do this. And that was very clear. You know, I mean, you did it. Things don't just happen. You have to put some thought into them to perform at high levels. And that was just great. Everything about that track, man. Thank you for writing that. It was great.
Thank you for appreciating it.
Oh, awesome. I want to share a story with you. You got to read this. So, and it's what pushed me to want to get you on this show. I had a guest on my show named Keith Nelson. I don't know, 5 months ago, maybe. Keith is the founder, the primary songwriter, and the guitarist of the LA band Buckcherry. And Keith tells us,
good band,
very good band, and they have a great history. He's got a good story. So Keith tells the story. It's 1994, and at the time he was an active drug user. He's working in Guitar Center, and you and many celebrities used to come in every day, and he used to come in the store often. He'd chit chat, you know, nothing. How are you? Blah, blah, blah. And one day you came over to me, asked me, said, hey man, what's your story? And he goes, he's complaining about LA, the music scene in general. And you turned around and said to him a few things that changed his life. And you said, man, you got to change your thinking. He said, where's your cassette tape with your music? Right. And he's like, what do you mean? You didn't have anything. And you explain him. And this is what's funny. You used these words 15 minutes ago. You said, man, you've always got to be working on your craft. You said, you got to be prepared all the time because you don't know when you're going to have an opportunity. And here's the thing. I talked with Keith just last week, because when I was preparing your questions, I said, hey, is there anything you want me to include? And he said, you know, the thing is that, look, I wasn't special. Brian probably had that conversation with 5 people that day, or maybe 5 people that week. He said, but Keith wanted me to let you know that on that day, something, you know, he was a student, the student was ready, and the teacher appeared. All right. And you changed his life. His next paycheck, he went out and bought a drum machine and a tape deck. He started writing songs, and he never stopped. He carried around a cassette tape of his music. Shortly after that, he got sober, and he's been sober ever since. And he wound up getting signed. He's got a platinum record, loads of hits, and today he's a successful producer. So number one, he told me to tell you thanks, and if you're interested, he'd love to connect with you. But I have a few questions about this story. And the first is there any chance you remember that encounter?
Ever so vaguely, I do remember him. I didn't remember his name, but yes. And it was at the Guitar Center in Hollywood. And I'm trying to think that there was it was right after, or I don't know, during, or some part of the thing that I was hanging out. I was working on a band. I have another band project that I did a CD for called Black Bart. And I was with Sean McNabb and Mitch Perry and Steve Felix, the drummer for the Busboys. And Vic Johnson came and played on a few of the tracks as well. But I was working on some stuff then, and I was hanging out, and I was doing some things. And I remember that somehow an affiliation, I don't know if I came there before or after, or I was going, the Slash and GNR were in their infancy stages or something. any rate, I do remember I have a feel for that time and that conversation.
Obviously, now my question is, you must have been and probably still are pretty focused on being a better person, a better musician, a smarter artist. Now that I've spent an hour with you, I could tell obviously you are. What made you share what I'm assuming you do this all the time, right? You either help people or you don't. It's not like, that's either your DNA and you take an opportunity to help somebody, or you don't. It's not like, hey, let me try this, right? I mean, that's either your character or it's not. Why did you do that? Like, what do you get out of doing that?
I can speak about this differently now because I'm older, but I think I've always felt this way. We're all on the planet for 100 years, more or less. What you do with your life and your time and on the planet, many people don't have as many choices, but we have a lot of choices here. And within the context of the choices you make, what you do with your life and your time is up to you. And what you do leaves your soul print on the universe. And you will leave, but your soul print will remain. And part of what you exchange is everything: information, spirit, talent, cares, losses, all those things. And I have met many men, Craig, guys who are taller than me, better looking than me, plenty of them, run faster, jump higher, play better, sing better. I never met a man more blessed than me. And I call blessings this is not a religious thing I'm saying. Things that I didn't necessarily work for. They came to me, they were presented to me. They were bequeathed to me. And I've been able to do really well as a result. And I'm always willing to share that with others. And again, being the son of teachers, of educators, and being a person who's always there to try to uplift others. I want the best of all of life from me and the leaving of my soul print. I want that for everybody else too. So my meeting with Keith then he was a great guy over there, and a lot of us, including myself, it's almost like you have to have a daily commitment to the positivity and to the opportunities that the time presents you for the doing of the best of whatever it is you have. And it's always easy to just to look at what the problems are. What, you can do that until the, cows never come home. It's just
sure.
And there's a not just have a positive thing. I'm optimistic because there's an optimism that resides within me, and that I see that other people have, because he's obviously talented. I mean, he's a nice guy, good-looking guy, nice. And sometimes I think when people look at other people who are successful at various things, they go like, well, yeah, I'd be happy if I had their money too, or things like that. And I go, it's like you're getting the cart before the horse. No, they have some more money and some more accomplishment because they were happier and or more positive or worked, in a certain way. And it's not a contest. I'm not who has more. It's certainly not about that. But if the order of the universe is be, do, have, being is the hardest part of that by far. And I'm always encouraging myself and others to deeply involve themselves in the being of life. Be who it is and what it is that you're called for, you're thinking of, or even if you're not sure, go get into what you're not sure about. And I'm here to pass that along, this side and the other.
Thank you, man. That was a very sincere answer. I appreciate that. That was very cool.
Thank you, sir.
You said, I've never met a man more blessed than me. I kind of feel like that as well. All right. I want to ask you about those 3 shows, American Bandstand, Soul Train, and Don Kirshner, because I watched every one of these religiously. What was, just like briefly, what was your experience like? And if you have any funny stories about any of them, and tell me about the Don Cornelius sign off, man, because your voice is deep. He made you sound like a falsetto, man. His voice was way deep, man.
Yeah. Well, I was glad to have been on all the shows. And no one, I don't want to say no one. I didn't know Don well, but I knew him more than casually. And Soul Train has a particularly different story for me, because not unlike that club sold out, which became the lingerie, that we ended up doing they call Romans in the movie.
Yeah.
Right.
Romans and more. Yeah, I remember that line.
I was a dancer and a participant in the startup of Soul Train.
That's cool. How did that come about?
Well, I was in high school, and we used to dance a lot, do stuff. And I think we may have even been to American Bandstand once, but my friend J.B. Bronner, he said, "Oh, they're getting ready to start a new show. It's going to be like American Bandstand, but for Black people." And I said, "Really?" He says, I mean, I'm just.
It is what it is, man. That's it. Like
high school conversation. Boom. That was the thing. Says,
well, that's accurate.
I was going to class. He says, yeah. He says, I got a hookup. I'm going to get us. We're going to go and participate. I said, okay. And I remember we went to a park. I always forget the name of the park. I want to say Vanguard Park. That's not it. It was a park in was it Dinker? I don't know. There's a park in South Central LA that they had the first meetings. And I remember that Pam Brown was his assistant. I think Pam may still be with us. I'm not sure. But at any rate, they had people come down, and it was a gymnasium at the park. And they put some records on, and they had a little fake stage there for Don to get up on and try stuff. So they were just putting that show together. And I remember they would, none of us got paid, and we would all come down. All the kids would dance, and they'd give us instructions. And I remember that we used to get Kentucky Fried Chicken, and sometimes they'd run out. So I won the dance contest on, I think, episode 3. So now, this is I hadn't graduated from high school, so this had to be 72, 73. Okay. Now, my life is progressing, going on and done things, and I've become I have a record deal, and I'm touring and all that. And I come back to play on the show. And if you ever watch the show itself, the interview I do with Don says, he asked me about it. He says, I bet you don't tell people when you were playing those rock clubs that you used to dance on Soul Train. I said, honestly, I don't tell anybody that. I just do.
Is that on YouTube anywhere?
Yeah.
That's awesome. I gotta look
if you reach back out to me, somebody probably out there already knows which episode it was. I don't know that off the top of my head, but and Soul Train later gave me a Lifetime Achievement Award, one of the very few awards I've ever gotten.
That's cool.
And Don gave it to me. And so I had that long history experience thing with Soul Train. I still am a member of the Soul Train Facebook something. And they have we didn't have it the last couple of years because of COVID, but they have a Christmas party that they do that we raise toys and or monies or thing for some kids and stuff. And I still go to
that's so cool.
The parties and the
Soul
thing,
Train alumni.
Yeah, because I was a dancer who became a performer on the show. So
very cool, man.
The American Bandstand thing was great. A little more isolated. I didn't know Dick Clark that well, and the Dick Clark. And when I watched the Dick Clark interview with me, it's that's on YouTube also. It's good. If you do Busboys American Bandstand, that's a good piece of business.
Okay.
But one of the things I learned about from Dick Clark exemplified to me the fact that you could be a really nice guy. I mean, exceptionally polite, all positive, and still be very, very successful. Because there's some, what you'll find, as we all do in life, that there are people who are successful are driven by different things. As I said before, even some artists. I mean, think about artists that you hear about that their parents beat them to death if they made a wrong step or they did something and they had to do this and had to do that. They may have been brilliant artists and sold a lot of records. I never had any of that. And he was one of the examples in the business of just how upbeat, positive, and genuinely good a person you could be and still blow doors. Yeah. He was so nice, and they were such incredible people there. And I almost did I was trying to put together a television show at one point and I was being represented by Eddie's people at the time. Well, I took a meeting with them, but the show they wanted to do and the show that I had in mind were just too far different. He sort of wanted the Busboys to do the Marx Brothers.
The Marx
Brothers?
We
do that. Yes. I mean, which your viewers, again, you have to go to YouTube or someplace and see a Marx Brothers film, but they were very yuck. Yeah,
that's
funny.
Totally not congruent.
No, what I was doing. No, it was what I had in mind. And he says, if you want to do the Marx Brothers, I'm in right now. Let's go. And no. And I can remember people saying, no, just do it. Because if you start there, then you can move on to the
Three Stooges.
Again, just like that hit record, it's going to be a hit.
Yeah. Right.
I just, if it's not something I feel that I will be comfortable representing, I'm just not that kind of entertainer. I'm not an actor. I'm not a guy just like I'm not the Be the Tree guy.
Like give me a pot of cash and I'll do whatever you want. Yeah.
And
that's a tough call because I saw a documentary yesterday about George Lazenby, who is the guy who played James Bond for one movie. It was really interesting. They wanted to sign him for 6 more movies at $2 million plus $1 million cash under the table. And he said no. And the reason he said no is because of what we're talking about right now. He had very tight constrictions over could he wear a beard, where he had to be, how he had to fart, and on top of that, so he didn't like that. And it was a fluke that he got the role. He'd never acted before in his life. So he wasn't, some people might sign that contract for money. Other people might sign it because, hey, I get to do what I've always wanted to do, act, perform, whatever. He had none of those.
Right.
And I got it. I really did. Because it's exactly what you're saying.
Yeah. And I'm not anti anything for somebody else. It would have been a great opportunity. Just wasn't my
right
milieu.
Yeah.
And,
right.
you know, it wasn't a thing that I wanted to do. And, you know, I take all of the stuff I do, even if it's funny or you're having fun, I take it all seriously. You're supposed to bring the best of yourself and the best of everyone. You're supposed to leave it all on the stage for whatever that thing is. And I couldn't do that for that.
Yeah.
And one of the things I think that too, because again, going back to my parents, because I came from a real middle-class family, I never had a hungry day.
Right.
We were never in jeopardy of the mortgage not being paid.
Sure.
They were planner doers. They were married. They had been dating and they were married for 10 years before they had me, and then waited another 5 years to have a second child. You know, they were planner doers to the max.
Much.
So I was never like, hey, if you do this, then, you know, you're going to get this money thing. It's like, like.
You had expectations of having money. It wasn't like, man, I know what it's like to starve and I better get it now because it may. I totally get that. Yeah.
Yeah. Really, and not expectations of being rich. No. But of being healthy, eating well, and paying my rent.
Providing.
Yes. And being provided for.
Yeah. Right. I totally understand.
And I was never afraid to work. And I got to tell you, man, it's still, if you're an artist or a business person, there's still a lot of it where there's a lot of uncertainty. Most people are not comfortable with uncertainty.
Yes, you're 100% right. Anytime you own your own business, you have to expect that. And if you don't, it'll be really rude when it happens. It's like a cold shower, but yeah, you got to expect that. Yeah.
Totally. And I'm thinking now, as we're finishing this record, we're going to shoot a video in about a month, a couple of videos actually, and then release. There's not as much dough in the actual record business part of it.
Oh yeah.
And we haven't been performing that much already. And then there was COVID. So when I look at the total economics of the whole thing, I go like, well, you're rolling dice here, sir.
Yeah, totally.
But you have to be willing to bet on yourself. And you have to figure out what tolerance of risk you're willing to take. You know, I was just looking at the whole thing about Tesla being now valued at $1 trillion, but that ain't been the whole Tesla story, man. It's like, and you can't pick it up at the end of you know, one of your MTV shows. It goes like, and then they were great, and
right?
Like, oh, well, I could do that. Yeah. So I've been willing to push my chips to the middle of the table, to go for it, and I've had some challenging times, but it's all worked out for the best. And I tell people, it's like, they talk about blowing up and you want to get so big and all this stuff. I go, listen, man, if you can pay your mortgage, take care of your kids, eat well, have some insurance, and do what you love to do, that's a whole lot.
That's a good life.
Yes. Yeah, it doesn't mean I don't want to earn more, that I'm not earning more. It just means that, you know,
patience grasshopper.
It's like it ain't about getting stuff.
Right.
Like how, you know, I got 5 of these and I got a bigger one of these and I got this, that, and the other. It's like, I mean, I'm trying to again improve my craft. I'm trying to play these guitars a little bit better, and I buy a nice guitar, or I get a guitar. The guitars don't play themselves.
Funny enough.
You know, no, they don't. I don't care how it's like this one has this one on it. It's got this, and it looks like, and it's valued at that. That doesn't help you sound good.
Mm-hmm.
You know, everything that is of value to me, or most of the things, are things that require me to earn them.
Yeah.
And I'm never afraid to do that. And I'm always thankful to have the opportunity.
Side note, you just said something, always bet on yourself. That's what Keith Nelson ended his interview with, oddly enough. I said, Keith, you have any final words? He goes, always bet on yourself.
Yes.
Brian, what were some low points or dark periods you've had to deal with? And how'd you get through them?
Well, there's business ups and downs, and that just goes, that's like waves in the ocean. I mean, I remember I've been on tour for a couple of years. I think we were on tour with the Stray Cats or something. I remember one night, a guy, Pat Quinn, was our tour manager, said, "Hey man, you got a minute?" I was in the back of the bus. I said, he says, "Well, when you get through, you get through visiting, doing whatever you're doing, come up front. I want to talk to you." The rest of the band had gone to sleep. He sits me down at a table. He says, "Okay, this is how much money we're making from the shows. This is how much it costs to have the bus and the thing and the food and the stuff we're going to pay. And blah, blah, blah. And here's the ending number for the next 4 weeks." And it was like negative, like $17,000 odd, right?
God.
And even though I had been on tours before and doing things, you sort of don't realize that this whole thing is an investment and a bunch of negative spending, and where does that, I didn't get broke until I became famous, it's like, I had always, I was a lifeguard thing, and I've been living with my parents, and then I worked at ITT. I had I had jobs, and then I had the band. So I'd always fueled myself, and I'd always just done what I did. It wasn't until I got famous. And what happens is, yes, you can get advanced money, but you're in deficit spending. And the goal of that during those times was you'll deficit spend until you have a hit. Then after you have a hit, all of this will be repaid and life will work out well. Well, what happens if you don't have a hit? Well, you might be up the creek without a paddle.
Yeah.
And so now, and I say that to say in low moments, I've had situations and circumstances having not had that big a hit, because they didn't release Boys Are Back until I re-recorded it and released it in after 2000.
Yeah. What? Yeah. I read that.
It happened. It's like a Who Shot JFK thing. It wasn't the Trilateral Commission or the French government or the mafia. It's just the confluence of things that happened. It being in a movie. It's before some of film and movie things where it's connected. And then more than anything, Black artists who play rock and roll don't get played on rock radio at anywhere near the level that
even that
potential
song?
white. It doesn't matter. First of all, they didn't release the song, and that was the not releasing it was
just
a strategic error by all parties involved. I'm not going to blame anybody. It's what happened.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. It's just like Jimi Hendrix doesn't get, I don't think, I don't know, I have to look at the latest number. I don't think he gets 30% of the play or 40% of the play like Aerosmith or the Stones, not to mention Led Zeppelin or, other people like that. It's not because he doesn't have any hits. You don't think he's good. He's not already on the format. None of that. We can discuss how this all works or doesn't work later, but or I'll leave that for people's thing, and I have my own thoughts about it, but they're just mine. So we didn't have big hits, and there's a strong likelihood that we're not going to have big radio hits. That we too are not going to get play like a Billie Eilish or a big band type thing. That may not happen. So then you have to adjust. So how do I do well, support my craft, my family, my thing? I move, pay my band. How do I move everything forward within the context of things that can be done?
Yeah, that's a tough I mean, it's almost an impossible thing to answer.
Well, it better not be impossible because I'm doing it. So there are low points within the context of that. And then my wife having passed in 2012 unexpectedly.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
Thank you. Really, really difficult. She was my buddy and my biggest fan and supporter. As she says, I'm your most dedicated soldier, she would say.
And I'm sorry.
Thank you. And then my kids had been pronounced when they were very young as being autistic, and then maybe they'll never talk, maybe they'll never this, blah, 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 blah. Right. So we have been tag teaming and doing well with the kids and the thing. And then she passed, and all of a sudden it's all on me. Got to cook, got to clean, got to still try to run your band. And you have these kids who, as I told her when they first told her all these things that they weren't going to be able to do, I said, honey, and she was crying on my shoulder. I said, all of those people mean well, and they're smart and educated thing, but they are not the final arbiters of what shall happen. And there are no guarantees, but we have a great opportunity, and they may be wrong. And as of this moment, my twin boys are both in college, and they have plenty to say and are doing well.
That's awesome. That's an awesome story, man.
But the fallen, her leaving the planet was and still is difficult for me. So that was that's a low point, if you want to. But I always say every problem comes to you with a gift in its hands.
Right. I believe that. That's a tough one, though.
It is.
And I have to tell you, man, I'm so sick and tired of going on social media. And you know what? It's a personal problem of mine. I hate complaining. Okay. I hate complaining. I hate complaining because most of the time you either can do something about it or you can't. If you can do something about it, why are you wasting time complaining? And if you can't do something, why are you wasting time complaining? Like, what is that? You know what I mean? Like, what is
God
that?
Give me the wisdom, right?
Yeah. I mean, like, and, you know, I'm hearing all this stuff that you've had to deal with, which is pretty traumatic. And all you've talked about is like, I want to leave a positive footprint. So it's aggravates me even more when I see people complaining when I got a guy like you who's like, you know what I'm saying? I'm not saying this to, you know, kiss your butt. It's like aggravating to me. It really is. You know, like you're a guy that maybe you have something to complain about more than some other people. That's not what you're doing, you know? Anyway, I had to just get that off my chest.
I feel, you know, listen, man, I one of the things that I'm aware of with many different things is that, again, it's more difficult for people oftentimes to find a positive positioning from which to approach whatever the hell it is they think or do, or things they need to change, things that injustices,
right?
Money, career, whatever the case may be. I'm with you on the complaining thing. I'm not. That's one thing for you to to advocate for things and through your forms of expression and complaints and or writing and or voting and or going to protest, right?
Absolutely.
Those things should be done.
I'm upset about this, and here's what I'm doing. Just letting you guys know if anybody.
Yes, and here are the solutions. I've never participated in anything where I was only pointing out what's wrong with it.
Right.
you know, within the context of whatever I'm pointing out, even if it's a song or something, I may not be, it's not a thesis, nor I'm going like, okay, so now there's it, that's not it. But it's upbeat. There's a way. I'm trying to present something that gives us, that leaves something to be thought about, and potentially out of that thinking and the representation, it leads to some betterment. Not a again light switch solution like, oh, I fixed that,
right?
But the bending of the arc of humanity, towards the goodness that it can be.
Yeah. You know, and maybe again, this is why I say it's a flaw of mine, because everybody has different coping skills. I saw a guy bitching on one of the social media. He was outraged. I mean, dig this. He was on fire because he called somebody and they didn't return his call, and they were posting other stuff at the same time. He thought he should have got a call back on social media. And I was like, man, you just said it. You're here for this. I was like, this is what you're spending your time. Surely, man, you got to read a book, something, man. I was just blown away. Anyway.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, man.
Yeah. Well, we're not doing that. Those guitars are back behind you all look like they need to be played.
They do need to be played, man. And they are played. I'm like, you know, just, do you have a, tell me who, anybody that influences your playing or your writing that people might be surprised to hear?
Oh,
because your sense of melody.
I have big, well, thank you. I have big ears. I mean, Stevie Wonder remains a great influence for me as an artist, as a singer, producer, player, innovator. He had such a long history of doing it. He also was a product of nature and nurture. You know, he had great talent, but he also came up in a never to be reproduced system and opportunity with Motown and all those other great artists to be around and to learn from and to compete with and be supported by. And then he went on to continually move on to his own expertise. And I still admire Sly Stone and the body of the Sly and the Family Stone work. And I love a lot of jazz musicians and whatnot that I love a lot. Big Art Tatum and Oscar Peterson and Phineas Newborn Jr. fan, and Herbie, and then you can never get enough Charlie Parker.
Man, Oscar Peterson, I listen to him, I'm like, he's got three hands, man. That guy, I've never heard anybody play like that.
Yeah,
he's pretty incredible.
And then, you know, I love all the other artists of all times. Like I was just getting ready to when we get through with the video, I was going to sit and just go over all the early pioneers of rock and roll music, many of them Black artists. But then a lot of them, there's a lot of country guys, a lot of stuff that were doing things as well I've gotten turned on to. So just learning some of those things and that, but there's nobody's music I am not influenced by who does any, and I don't have to know them. I love this. I was listening the other night to an artist, her name is St. Vincent. And I already liked some of her songs, but she has a new record out. It's like songs about my dad or something with when my dad comes home or something like that. And I listened to something and I went, oh, great. You know, she made me think of some other things that I had not thought of. I like listening to, I watch a lot of classic movies, older movies, TCM, and I love listening to film scores.
Okay.
The film score to The Maltese Falcon is by Adolf Deutsch is a good one for me, but there's just no limit to what I'm listening to. And what I can absorb from it. And whenever if I'm not practicing, then there's a lot of listening. It's just like, I'm just set the guess. I sleep with my guitar now, which.
Do you really?
I do. I have not this one. This is my D35, but no, I have a, it's a C60 or something? A short body Gibson nylon. And since my wife passed, that's who I sleep with. I don't know how healthy that all is, but it is what it is.
Doesn't matter.
And so I'll just roll over and I'll hear something on TV or something, or play something. Oh, let me see what is that? How does that work? What is that? Oh, using a dominant seventh in the bass of the chord, which I've never heard that. It's like, it's got this whole chord structure. So I'm listening to and listening for things all the time. Big Frank Sinatra fan, by the way, as well.
Give me your top 3 Desert Island discs just for this minute.
All right. Talking Book, Stevie Wonder. Anything Frank Sinatra, and Charlie and Diz, Charlie Parker, Dizzy Gillespie thing that Monk played piano on as well. If I could sneak a Stones record in there too, and our Little Guns N' Roses, that'd be good. But go ahead.
Which Stones record would you put in?
It's such an obvious, but I love the early work. Sticky Fingers, and then they had the one that is it Tattoo You or Tattoo?
Yeah, Tattoo You.
Yeah, I love that Tattoo You record as well. Not one that is as, I guess, well known, or some of their other ones, but Don Was's production, I just really admire a lot. Also, I like the way he makes records, and I listen to different things different ways. I'm a big fan of record making. I think records can be made many different kinds of ways and all that, but it's still this magic that comes out of the speakers. And when I'm making records, oftentimes I feel like I'm making a movie. Oh, let me sit back some.
Yeah. I want to see your face.
I feel like
either you're getting super comfortable, I'm putting you to sleep.
No.
I hope it's not the second.
No, as I say, when I'm making records, I think that I'm making a movie as opposed to staging a play.
Yeah.
Now, see, you can stage a wonderful play. It's like, so put everybody in the band together. We all rehearse it some. We know what we're doing. Then we isolate a little bit and we all play together. That's one way of making a record. Then there's all of the George Martin Beatles era, Roy Thomas Baker, all the things that have come between, where no, we're not just recording a performance well. We're creating a different world from which that is a representation of the artist and what their songs are and things, but it's not what they sound like if I wake them up and I put them in a garage and you're like 1, 2, 3, go. And so I like making that movie, making those records. So have fun with that.
Tell me what do you think's the best decision you ever made?
Besides, as I ate the aforementioned choosing of my parents, I'll say the best decision I ever made was deciding early on in life what it was I wanted to do. So if you can decide when you're a senior in high school, whatever it is you're going to be and or do, and that thing remains true for you and you still do it, you might end up, I don't care what it is, you may have been pretty good at that.
I think so. The question you said before, who's your hero?
My parents.
Yeah.
My parents are. Again, they're differentiating between heroes and influences.
Sure. Yeah, totally.
You know, and I learned early on, because these people sort of were when I was younger. These people whose music I loved and was influenced by so much. You have to separate art from artist.
Right. Yeah.
So, you know, you feel a certain way about a person, their singing, their writing, and their ability, or their thing, and all this stuff. You project all this stuff onto them that you think who they are by the work that they do, and you meet them and or spend some time with them. And you're like, I'm better off listening to the music. That's where the magic was.
Be careful meeting your heroes or something like that.
Yeah.
Tell me, what do you like most about yourself?
My positivity, in my mind.
That's all it's about, man.
My humility relative to my gifts, my accomplishments, and or things, and even my mistakes or whatever. And the fact that I love me, and I give myself a lot of love, you know, and not just love what I've done, but just love me. And I also love that I'm relentless in my positivity and in my approach to just doing things, and not like in a maniacal way. Just it's what I came to do.
You're gonna figure it out. You're gonna figure it out.
It's what I woke up to do, and we're gonna get about doing it.
What's your best childhood memory?
Oh, so many. Like, you know, I had just such a wonderful childhood. I had such a great time. You know, bringing my brother home when he was born, that was good.
Oh, that's cool.
I had great times. I don't know why I thought about this. We're a party, the equivalent of playing Spin the Bottle at a 6th grade party and getting a kiss from Maryland. So I don't know.
That's a good memory.
I don't think I haven't thought of that or referenced it in a long time. And she and I are still good friends. I will have to tell her that I mentioned that today. Yeah.
That's pretty funny. It's funny the things you think of that come out of your brain sometimes, isn't it? Do you have any non-musical superpowers? I
don't know if they're superpowers, but I've become a pretty good cook.
All right. What do you cook?
Stuff that I eat. So a lot of seafood, some pasta dishes, and some salads, and some various vegetables, and good legumes. I do different kinds of beans. They're pretty doggone well.
Awesome.
I barbecue really well.
What are you barbecuing? You don't eat meat. What are you barbecuing?
Yeah, all that fish, and the vegetables too.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, I love barbecue. Cooking's the #1 hobby for musicians.
Is it?
Yeah. I mean, like at 850 is a pretty decent population, but yeah, it's a #1.
Yeah. And then I eat, I'm a chili head. So
hot chili, hot peppers, you mean? Yeah.
Hot peppers. Yes. I've been eating hot peppers since I was 3, like the music thing, and so now, I grow ghost peppers and Carolina Reapers, and
you have to be careful with those, don't you? Like touching them even, do you have to wear gloves? At least I see it on TV.
No. I eat them.
Wow.
But it's not these people that I see on TV show, like they got these mono type things, and they're like, can you eat this? And I don't eat it because it's so I can prove something, or I'm like it's not like I'm trying to run a marathon or something. I like hot food, spicy food. And I've been eating these peppers since I was a kid. I'll tell you a real funny story that, the yellow peppers, this yellow chili peppers that you buy at the store, they come in the jar, right? And they have vinegar in them. And my dad used to sometimes have a bowl, he'd have a piece of bread, and he'd put mayonnaise and Worcestershire sauce and Tabasco and pour a little of that juice on it and some capers or something.
Dude,
some
that's so
concoction.
old school, man. It's like old school shit. That's so funny.
So the peppers were in the refrigerator, and I used to like to go, and I guess I still do it. You'll get the peppers in, I take the top off, and I'd sip some of the juice.
Yeah, sure. I get that.
So I do it every now and then. And then I remember my mother being in the kitchen saying, "Joe," that was my dad's name, "I have told you cannot take all the juice off the peppers. It'll dry the peppers out." And my dad looked at the jar, and all the juice was almost gone. He was just shaking his head. And I remember I came in, I said to my mom, it was like a George Washington moment, like cherry tree mom. "Mom, Dad didn't do it. I drank the juice." And she said, "Don't just say things for your father." No, I'm serious. I drank the juice. I showed her. And she looked at me, I guess the way you look at a kid who's taking frogs apart on a continuous basis. You don't know if he's going to be a doctor or Jeffrey Dahmer.
Yeah.
So she looked at me. She said, "Don't do that, honey." I've been eating peppers ever since. And you know what? I see my phone maybe running out of batteries here soon. So
we're at the end.
all right.
You have any hobbies outside of music, Brian?
I like to go. I'm a romanticist. I like to go on dates. I don't get to go on as many as I like, but I'm pretty much in this music thing. And there you
go. One more question, and I just want to say thank you for everything, man. You've been real sincere and very kind, and thanks for being so open and honest.
Oh, thank you. It's been an enjoyable time. I'm glad to have met you and to have done the interview. It's a good thing.
Thank you. Likewise, man. Tell me the biggest change in your personality over the last 10 years, and how much of that has been intentional and how much has just been a natural part of aging.
I would hope that I have grown into some of my ambition and self-centeredness, which you have to have if you're going to be an artist or thing. I mean, I have naturally. Some of the things that I've done that have not been my most shining moments have come as a result of not me trying to do something bad or evil or something along that line, but just being so involved in me and what I was going to do that I didn't have the right. So I think the growth in the awareness of how what I do affects others, and finding a way to still do what I need to do to be true to myself and have still more regard again for the overall effect it may have on other people and other things.
Like less collateral damage?
Yeah, well, it just, and sometimes it's not even collateral damage. It's just the influence of it, just how sometimes you don't realize how much effect you might have. The same effects you might have on a positive side, you might have on a negative side for something else. Sure.
Totally get it. It's all encompassing as a musician too. That's the thing, and an artist.
As a person, as an artist, as a person who's, so I look at people who are called to do what they do. They have a career. Now they may have a job with that career as well, or may not. Most people don't have careers; they have jobs. Right. They didn't intend to answer the phones for a long time, and they ended up getting a gig, and they worked for AT&T or something for 30 years and retired. Yeah, they had a job for that time. They may have done very well, financial, it wasn't what they wanted to do. Wasn't. I've been wanting to do this since I can remember. So it's all good all the time.
Right on, man. Thank you for everything. Let me tell people what you got going on. First of all, I would love everybody to check out the song "Cities on Fire." It's great. I mean, it's on fire. Also Civil Rights. That's a new song? Yeah, Civil Rights which is an early release of the new album In My Heart. And if you can follow the Busboys on Facebook and other social media channels, you will find out when the album drops. It'll be early next year. Also, for more information, go to busboys.com. I'm assuming that the Busboys is going to be performing. Check social media channels for where and when. Anything else? Any final words of wisdom? Anything else like that?
No. Well, thank you so much, Craig, for having me. I appreciate it. And I appreciate all the friends and fans that we've had in the past and that hopefully we'll be making more of going forward. You know,
right on.
We live to do this, and it's a whole lot of love involved.
Hold on one second. Let me just say goodbye to everybody, and I'll wrap up with you. Thanks for everything, Brian. Everybody, thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this, please share it on your social media channels. We appreciate your support. Thanks very much to Brian O'Neill. Again, check out the new record upcoming in early 2022, In My Heart. And man, if you want to just hear one of the greatest songs you'll ever hear, listen to Cities on Fire. And that's about it. Most important, remember that happiness is a choice. So choose wisely. Be nice, go play a guitar, and have fun. Till next time, peace and love, or I should say peace, love, and soul.
And soul.
All right, everybody, I'm out. Thank you, my brother.
All right. Bye-bye, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you.